All right, everybody. This is Clint Arthur, and welcome to the greatest show of all time, right here on 77 WABC Radio in New York City. And if you are an author, a speaker, a coach, an entrepreneur, a consultant, advisor, or expert of any kind, then you should be rejoicing because this is the place where you are going to explore how to be more, do more, and have more. That's right. It's all about going to the next level because you're a New Yorker and New Yorkers are already successful. It's not about being successful. It's about going all the way. And this is the 1-year anniversary of this show. We founded this show 1 year ago right here on 77 WABC Radio. What a great day it was. And I was reminded of that founding of the show with a Facebook memory that popped up. And I was so excited to begin the show then. And I'm really so excited to continue with this show into our second year. We were renewed for all of 2020 and it's just going great. And I'm really looking forward to continuing the growth and exploration with you, the New York City and 77 WABC Radio audience, as well as the audience of people all around the world on Facebook and social media or on iTunes. If you're subscribing on iTunes, thank you. Thank you. Please subscribe and rate. Now, what I'd like to do in this episode is I'm going to share with you my top 10 takeaways that I have learned from doing a radio show every week for a year in New York City on 77 WABC Radio, the top New York City talk radio station. So here's takeaway number one. This is the most important thing that I have learned from doing this radio show is a reiteration of what I wrote in my first book, What They Teach You at the Wharton Business School. I wrote, invest in the best technology you can get. That's one of the lessons of the Wharton Business School. And my very first takeaway from this whole year experience is technology equals freedom. Oh my goodness. I lead a very mobile lifestyle as a speaker, an author, a coach, and a person who is very successful and enjoys travel. I'm all over the world. I'm all over the country. And if it wasn't for technology, I would not be able to host this show the way I have been able to maintain the weekly delivery of a show week in and week out. And as a matter of fact, this episode is being recorded on my MacBook Pro. And thank God for top technology from Apple Computer. Man, I'm living my life and really running my whole show off my iPhone and my MacBook Pro. And if it wasn't for those two items combined with the magic of the internet, this show could not have happened the way it has. I'm just not in New York City every week and able to deliver a show week in and week out by being in New York City. I got to be out there in the world. So God bless technology. Second top takeaway, I'm going to give you 10 during this half hour. Second top takeaway is you have to creatively leverage everything, okay? Now, this show, like I have extracted value out of this show for my clients, okay? We had lots of clients on the radio show during this past year to help make this a viable adventure, okay? Then on top of that, we had clients in the studio and we made videos of their appearances on the radio show. And then it also exposed me and helped me to leverage talent. So for example, I have NASA astronaut Mike Massimino, who will be a guest on the show next week. And I have had Suzanne Summers as a guest on the show. I've had Dan Kennedy, my great mentor, as a guest on the show. And I remember what he said when he did the interview. I said, Dan, thanks for coming on the show. And he said, well, it's big time radio. And by having a radio show on 77 WABC in New York City, it has given me a whole different way to interact with talent that I need for my business and for my events, and that I enjoy working with famous top people. Hey, I've had Martha Stewart on this show. I've had Ice-T and Coco on this show. I'm going to have Jocelyn Elders on this show, and I'm even going to have celebrity chef Paula Deen. They're all scheduled to appear on this show in the weeks ahead. So keep listening. You're going to enjoy it. Top lesson number 3 from hosting the greatest show of all time on 77 WABC Radio in New York City is titles matter. Hey man, having a great title for this show has really made it amazing. I mean, when I tell people that I'm the host of the greatest show of all time, it gets a different reaction from them than if I was saying I was host of the Clint Arthur radio show. Now look, maybe, hopefully one day Clint Arthur will be as big a name as Mark Cuban or Damon John or Donald Trump, or you name an entrepreneur. And hopefully one day my name will be as valuable as that. But right now, I remember when I was trying to come up with the name for the show, I didn't know what the heck to call it. And luckily, Glenn Tachinelli, vice president at Cumulus Media, one of the people who arranged for me to have this show, he's the one who came up with the idea to call the show the greatest show of all time, which was a takeoff on one of my books, The Greatest Book of All Time. And I'm so grateful to Glenn Tachinelli for really showing me the power of making a gigantic claim in what you do, in the title of what you do. So thank you, Glenn. And for all of you entrepreneurs listening, what are you doing with your titles of your products, of your services? You need to think about that. Moving on, big, huge takeaway number 4. You having regular practice and work is invaluable. Having regular practice and work, doing regular work on whatever you do. Man, you know, you could be a really good amateur at something. You could be a really good wannabe at something, but when you are speaking constantly, when you are talking, when you are a speaker who has a regular half-hour product to deliver to a top-tier radio station every week, it helps you to get better at whatever you're doing. And if you're a speaker out there, hey, look, I'm not a speaker. I'm an author who speaks. And I don't know about you, but if you are a author, coach, CEO, consultant, business owner, any of that, being a speaker helps you to break through and get leads, prospects, and customers and clients. That's why I'm a speaker. I'm a speaker to help sell my books. I'm a writer who speaks. And having this weekly responsibility of being required to deliver a half-hour show every single week, man, it has been an amazing experience for me as a talker. Yes, as a talker. Let's move on. How about takeaway number 5, repurposing content. Now, you'll notice that I am going to be posting this on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm going to be distributing it out as a tweet. I'm going to put it on all of my different platforms on Facebook. And what is this? This is a radio show that I'm recording. And yet, here it is showing up as a video on all these different platforms and all these different media. And that is because I'm repurposing it. And that's one of the really smart things that you need to realize and do as an entrepreneur in today's day and age. You need to be making content and you need to be repurposing that content all over the place. Let's move on to huge takeaway number 6 from doing a radio show every single week. Number 6 is maintain your own standards. Now, look, I'm wearing a jacket and tie and a starched shirt, and nobody told me to do that. When I started going into ABC Radio, WABC Radio in New York City, I noticed a guy named John Batchelor. He was always wearing a jacket and tie. And I tell you what, you know, John Batchelor and we have done something called setting our own standards. I set my standards and I keep my own high standards. Life is not about, being an entrepreneur is not about having the freedom to wear flip-flops and shorts to work every day. Being an entrepreneur really is about setting your own high standards and keeping them. And it was really gratifying to me to come into a big time radio station like WABC in New York City and seeing other hosts showing up wearing jackets and tie because they set their own standards and they maintain it. There's no dress code at WABC Radio, but I go in there every time and wear a jacket and tie. Let's move on to big takeaway number 7 from having my own radio show for a whole year. It is, you don't make a lot of money being in media. Oh, this is a beauty. Hey guys, I don't make a lot of money having my own radio show, but I make a lot of money because I have my own radio show. What does that mean? I have clients and prospects who listen to this show, and part of the reason why they pay me a lot of money is because I'm the host of the greatest show of all time on 77 WABC Radio in New York City. That's not the only reason. That is part of the reason. I've got a big package of who am I? See, I got a big package of who I am and why you should care and pay me lots of money. And being the host of the greatest show of all time on a New York City top talk radio station is part of that package. I don't make a lot of money because I do it, but I do make a lot of money because I do it. See what I'm saying? Fantastic. Let's move on to big, huge takeaway number 8 from having my own radio show for a whole year is time is the most valuable commodity. Hey guys, in this post-pandemic world, hopefully it's post-pandemic now already. I guess we're in the plandemic world. In this world where we realize there has been a plandemic, there has been more than $3 trillion of new money injected into our economy. There is no shortage of money in today's day and age. You know what there's a shortage of? Time and attention. That's exactly what is the real short commodity in today's world. People don't have time. They don't have any desire to give you their attention. And this is why I switched the format of this radio show for the first, I think it was for the first 6 months of the show. It was a 1-hour show. And you know, that was cool. I'm cool working harder every week, but I thought about my own listening habits. What do I listen to? I very rarely listen to 1 hour of anything, very rarely. And when I realized that I don't like the 1 hour format, I switched the show to a half-hour format. And oh my God, I think it's just so much better, so much tighter. You tune in here for half an hour and I'm going to blitzkrieg you every week with money-making ideas, strategies, concepts, stuff that you can use and that you can't get anywhere else. If you are an author, speaker, coach, entrepreneur, CEO, business owner, expert of any kind, that's what this show is delivering in a half hour just for you. Moving on to number 9. Oh my goodness. I knew this, but it really got hammered home for me as I did this show. And that is that speaking is an acquired skill. That's right. Being a speaker, I'm not a speaker. I told you I'm not a speaker. I am an author who speaks, and going on the radio week in, week out, week in, week out. I've been on the radio for you. Week in, week out. I'm telling you, I'm not a speaker. I'm an author. However, I make more money as a speaker than 99% of the entire National Speakers Association. That's what one of my mentors told me. And he knows. He's been a Hall of Fame speaker and founding member of the NSA for decades and decades. And I'm telling you, you don't need to start out. You will most likely not start out as a phenomenal speaker. But if you do it more and more, the more you do it, the better you'll get. It's amazing. You got to suck when you begin anything new, but the more you do it, the better you will be. And moving on, that was number 9. Here we are, number 10. Hey guys, I promised you that there would be 10 big takeaways. And I'm want to come back to the takeaway because it's time for the best part of the show. All right, now I will insert the Toni Silva interview right there. And fantastic. Always great to have Toni Silva. And you know, he's come a long way. It's been really interesting having Toni Silva as the home repair expert on this show. For those of you who've been listening for all the weeks that he's been here, you can really hear the improvement in Toni Silva. And it's really a shame. We had Greg Hanna on for the first, I don't know, 4.5 months of this. Let's see, how long was he on? No, he was on for like 8 months as our tech and cyber expert on this show. And, because of his time commitments, he was unable to continue. And unfortunately, I can really hear the difference. He doesn't have the practice, the weekly practice of being able to do segments and to talk for 5 minutes, week in, week out. And his performances, his delivery, his pitching for TV has been negatively impacted. And it's really a shame, because you got to be speaking all the time. You got to be doing media all the time. And the more you do, the better you're going to get at it. And when Greg Hanna started out, he was literally reading. He was reading all the words that he was saying on the show. By the end of our association as him being the cyber tech expert, he would just come on and talk. It was no big deal for him to do 5 minutes. When he started, oh my God, it was so hard. But by the time he was 8 months into it, he was really doing great. And hopefully he'll come back or find some other opportunities to be speaking week in, week out. Vitally important. Moving back to number 10. Hey, I told you there were top 10 takeaways from doing the greatest show of all time on 77 WABC radio in New York City for a whole year. Number 10, New York City is a city of successful people. Yeah, guys, it really took me a while before this really impressed itself upon me. If you are living in New York City, you are already successful. You are a world beater because you live in the greatest city of all. And that's why when I came to that realization, I really changed the tone and attitude of this show to not just help people to succeed as entrepreneurs. That's not what we need. What we need is for successful entrepreneurs and experts to go to the next level. And that is what this show is really all about. Now, if you've been listening to the show, you know my modus operandi is to over-deliver. And naturally, I have number 11. Number 11, initiative. Number 11 is initiative. Entrepreneurship is entirely about initiative. See, this is the real problem and the real difference between employees and entrepreneurs, people who have skin in the game. If it's your business, if you're the one who the buck stops with you, like it does with me, you got to take initiative to make stuff happen. And this is one of my greatest attributes as an entrepreneur, is that I'm able to take initiative. Real estate, if you've ever bought a home, that home didn't buy you. You went and bought the home. And entrepreneurship is entirely exactly just like that. And I never would have had this radio show if I didn't take the initiative to set up the initial meeting and make it happen. And that's what I did. And that is part of why I am who I am, and I have the clients who I have, and they pay me the money that they pay me. And if you're interested in finding out more about that and about me, come and join me at a special conference I'm holding at CNN Center in Atlanta, August 7, 8, 9, with Dr. Oz, Dr. Drew, Surgeon General, Paula Deen, the celebrity chef, Patch Adams, who inspired the movie with Robin Williams, and NASA astronaut Mike Massimino, who was on the Today Show this past week. And if you want to learn all about how to be a celebrity in the eyes of your customers and prospects so that you can get paid the money you want and deserve, go to Clint, CLINTTT.com. Clint with 3 T's.com. And until next week, I will be back here beginning my second year on the air at 77 WABC Radio in New York City with the greatest show of all time. 9:30 p.m.